Hi, everybody. You're listening to the Jaunty Mantis, a tabletop role-playing game podcast about creative questions for curious gamers. And we are here in Season 5, Episode 6, where the question is, what do we do with dinosaurs? How do you solve a problem like Dinosaur Maria?
Yeah.
How do you catch a dinosaur cloud and pin it down? I'm Jesse, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Matty. How's it going?
It's going. How's everybody out there in TV land? Oh, wait. Shit. This is a podcast. Just pretend. Pretend that was a great joke. Wow. Can you tell we haven't recorded in a couple of weeks with a joke like that, Jesse?
Well, I always pretend your jokes are funny because that's the least I can do.
Yeah, thank you. That's why you're my best friend.
Wait, that's why?
That's one of many reasons.
All right. I'm just feeling kind of insecure because we haven't recorded in a minute.
I'm insecure. You're the one that said you were pretending all my jokes are funny and laughing at them anyway. Jesus.
Well, it's like I said to somebody at work today, slightly cruel mockery is my love language. So, you know.
That's a good one. That makes a lot of sense for you. I laugh, love that for you, Jesse.
I laugh, love that for me. All right. So today we are talking basically about mechanics that reinforce your dinosaurs in TTRPGs. We've hinted at this, talked a little bit about some of the issues throughout the season coming up till now. But basically, the thing that we really want to reinforce about using dinosaurs in TTRPGs is that, like, they are not just big monsters. They need to feel different. And in the context of a role-playing game, one of the ways that's going to drive that difference home beyond just narrative twists is mechanics. So how do you make a dinosaur play like a dinosaur?
Yeah.
Do you have like an encounter you've run or played in where the mechanics either like totally sold the dinosaur or it didn't work and kind of flattened the moment?
No.
Okay.
Neither of those. Dinosaurs are just cool monsters that have the best gimmick in all of role-playing games.
That's true.
We, in a past episode of this season, we did set up some cool ways you could announce dinosaurs or use them to create tension or create encounters or set pieces to use your dinosaurs in. But when it comes down to very specific mechanics, I can't really draw anything off the top of my head that was like super cool or really bad, I guess. So
yeah, I mean,
yourself?
like the one I can think of where it was really cool is it's another Gorix the Branch Creeper story for our dinosaur season. There was an earlier like naval battle where we had like escaped from like the prison hold of this ship. It was right after the campaign started. We don't really know how we got there. My character is a druid. I've got a bunch of dinosaur wild shapes, including, through the vagaries of the rules at the time, the ability to turn into a Quetzalcoatlus, the biggest of the pterosaurs. And so we get up on the deck, there's cannonballs flying and like people shooting flaming arrows, and like our ship's gonna sink. So I turn into a Quetzalcoatlus and I fly over to the other ship and landed on the mast and said, my intention is to flap my wings and to just kind of bring this thing over. And the GM ruled it was a strength athletics check, I think with disadvantage. And then I made it and it felt cool mechanically for this dinosaur. And so I'm like, if I ever have people on a boat fighting a Quetzalcoatlus, I'm going to have them do that again. I don't know.
It happens all the time.
Yeah. Like, I think that's the most common thing. It's like kobolds, giant rats, goblins, Quetzalcoatlus on a boat.
Yes. All at level 1.
But that thing is, I think, the first issue when it comes to dinosaurs is the size and the scale. So in the world's most popular role-playing game, we have a couple things that have to do with, that's Dungeons and Dragons, by the way, in case you haven't been paying attention.
2014 or 2024, Jesse?
Both and or.
Okay.
Little column A, little column B. I think the first thing that conveys dinosaurs has to do with their size. And there's a couple ways by default that 5e handles that. So the first is size, how many, like the size area it takes up. Um, do you find that that really matters a lot in 5e?
It's not really used a lot in my experience in 5e, but it should, you know, it should. There's a lot of evocative gameplay, the stone punk aspect of playing Gia. It would be cool to use mass. People like have a dinosaur so big that player characters have to climb onto it to go after that weak spot that somebody found or spied or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
You know,
different zones on the dinosaur that could have like their own hit point pool that, trigger different effects when you reduce the hit points of that to
I mean,
something.
I might have to relinquish my story gamer card here, but this is where attack map really comes into play.
Yeah, so full disclosure, Jaunty Mantis fans, well, we recently got to play with Attack Map again, and you may, if you're a longtime listener, be aware that Matty and I are kind of 3.5 heads,
Mhm.
which the idea that you would play that without Attack Map seemed insane at the time.
Mhm.
So while the rules are less supported now in 2024 than they were in 2014, it's still a viable option. And when I think you're dealing with size and scale, for that to mechanically be interesting, it's sort of hard to do in theater of the mind.
Mhm. So much is wonderful about theater of the mind, and so much is not.
Yeah. Another thing that comes along with size, by the way, too, is reach.
Yep.
So that again, I think you need a tack map. I guess maybe the recommendation here is if you're using dinosaurs, bust out that old Chessex vinyl mat and some wet erase markers.
Unless you're really good at helping everybody understand exactly where everything is. I mean, I if you're not using attack map, I would recommend the systems and mechanics from Index Card RPG creator. I'm blanking on his name, but that company, the Runehammer Games is the company. They have a product called like 5e hardcore mode or something like that. I highly recommend it. And what they do in that game is they really separate things into zones. You have like a near and a far zone for example. So instead of somebody being like, well, how far away are they? It's like it's just like, well, are they, which zone are they in? And I think that helps better with theater of the mind instead of being like, well, how far away, are they? And it's like the 35 feet. Like, really? That seems really close. Oh, it does. Like I get in my own head when it comes to like fake, imaginary distances in a fake environment. Like it's really difficult for me to parse for some reason. So having the tack map is very beneficial. So if you're going to mess around with these kind of mechanics, I would recommend doing that instead. Instead of having speeds, say like, well, buy the book because it very, very well like details how to use these zones effectively. So I would say use something like that if you want to make more evocative, combat using reach and size and these other aspects without going tac map.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed is that like a lot of newer RPGs use that zone-based system of like near, close, far. A
Mm-hmm.
movement gets you one range band or whatever.
Right.
And a lot of them, this is another thing, this is an idle observation. I've just noticed this, that a lot of them seem to be suggesting like sketch out the battlefield and label the zones. So it's not pure theater of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Which really makes me wish I was good at drawing overhead views of things quickly and on the fly. The Soulbound, the Age of Sigmar role playing game uses that. I think Imperium Maledictum uses that. I've been reading Exalted Essence Edition, which has
Nice.
heroin pissing dinosaurs in it.
My favorite
That
kind.
that uses those zones. And I think if you want to capture that size or that mechanical element of reach, if you're using one of these zone-based systems, is normally like they have a distinction between like close and near. Close is sword swinging range, and near is like just outside of that. I
Mm-hmm.
would say if you got a really big dinosaur and the dinosaur's near, it can still attack you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That
Cool.
makes sense.
Do you find the mechanics for like charging to be interesting?
They used to be. I don't. I can't think of one time we've ever used them effectively. It's usually been like, I'm going to charge him. What are the rules for that? And then we all kind of like look them up. Like, all right, well, I guess we're just going to move up and attack him. You know?
Yeah, the like a universal charge action seems to have kind of gone by the wayside, but you will note if you like look at a monster manual for 5e, there are things like if the dinosaur made a move action before its attack, it gets an extra attack or it deals extra damage.
Mm-hmm.
Is that different enough for you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I like mechanics that they don't have to be unique to dinosaurs, but they should kind of evoke the essence of what the encounter is and what those dinosaurs are really trying to do. You know, that's what appeals more to me. Like using size and reach. I mean, we're talking about a game that has dragons and drakes and wyverns and all these other large or small sized creatures. So if we're going to use something specifically dinosaur oriented, I feel like you should, use what you think are the core features of a dinosaur encounter, what that might be, and then design around that.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned dragons because I think one thing that you can take from dragons in 5e to give that big dinosaur feel is you can take the dragon fear effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seems to me kind of crazy. Like a dragon swoops down, everyone needs to make like a wisdom saving throw, DC whatever, or be frightened of the dragon because dragons are frightening. I'm like, I'm cool with that, but like, why shouldn't a T-Rex get that?
Right.
You suddenly find yourself like looking into the beady eyes of this, 30-foot long giant predator. I would think you probably are afraid too.
Yeah, I mean, and then why not also feel that dread around like a giant?
Oh, yeah. Okay, all big things now generate fear. We've decided.
What about something from a shadow dimension, Jesse, of malfiction, evil, horrible putrescence?
Yeah. Mind flayers, aboleth. I don't know.
I mean,
Are there?
realistically, aren't we just talking about like a mental ability of some sort? There in 3.x, there was this era where like everything had a fucking sanity check in it.
Yeah.
So it's like let's not go there.
Well, it's funny because I'm going to mention Riffs.
Oh, really? What's riffs?
Riffs is this role-playing game. It's kind of janky. I think you're on record as saying it's the best indexed role-playing game book you've ever read.
Really? Wow. I don't remember saying that, but anything's possible. Was I
I
drunk?
think just tuned over all player input to make it glowing praise when we played Riffs. A lot of monsters in Riffs have a horror factor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which is a saving throw. Dinosaurs definitely have a horror factor. So a lot of class bonus gives you a bonus to save versus horror factor. Monster's got a number on it. You encounter the monster for the first time. You roll the horror factor check. If you fail, if you don't roll over the horror factor, you lose initiative.
Makes sense.
And I think that can get that fear and awe thing some mechanical teeth if you want to adapt. Yeah, here I am encouraging you to adapt things from riffs into your Dungeons and Dragons game.
You should share and adapt with anything that inspires you. If you find something in a game and you're like, oh, this might be cool if I put this in 5e, you should just totally do it. And when your players complain and call you, make accusations of it being unfair, you should just tell them to shut the fuck up.
Okay. Matty
What's
said
next?
his haterade today.
Oh yeah, got a big bottle of it right here next to me.
Ooh, nice. Is that liquid hate V or just haterade?
It's just haterade.
Okay.
Yeah. Scorching orange.
Player options.
Mhm.
Now, I think we've
already do
joked,
this?
huh?
Didn't we already do player options?
Okay. So here's, I think, the most interesting mechanical thing with players when it comes to dinosaurs, and it's animal companions.
Yeah. Or like companions, mounts, familiars.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So, um, and I think if we could just like, have you played a character that has an animal companion in 5e?
Not in 5e, no.
Okay. I have, and I feel like that's a whole subsystem, especially as we've joked to each other, every class is a pet class now. Um, like
Sure.
the default rules is you got this like animal companion. It has the same initiative as you. It's got a tiny little hit point pool. It's got, maybe like one attack that does, like a hunter's mark level of damage,
Yeah.
like a D6. But the way they usually describe it is like, unless you use a bonus action to command it, it takes the defend action.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically like use a bonus action for a D6 or a D8 potentially extra damage of your animal companion that's probably going to get one shot by anything you fight over level 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's not terribly satisfying to me.
Yep. Animal companions are a mess. They're either way too powerful or not, or they're way too weak. It's really not a fun play style when you are not okay, like in 3rd edition D&D, you'd have that person that would start with that animal companion, which would just wreck everything.
Yeah.
And then the player would be like, well, guys, come on, by the time we get to level 7, this thing will be useless. And you're like, what? We're level 1, Jim.
That's gonna be a minute.
Yeah. And they scale to get more powerful. I'm much more of a fan of animal companions doing interesting things instead of being another body on the battlefield.
Yeah.
More of like a Final Fantasy summons kind of feature, or maybe there's some spells or abilities in video games like World of Warcraft or whatever, where it's like, you hit the ability and then a stampede of creatures comes out of nowhere and runs them over. I would way more prefer to do a lot of hand wavy bullshit in order to make that happen. Like, I don't know if this was in a 3rd edition D&D book, but like with a familiar, there was either I made this up or this actually existed. It probably actually existed. I'm trying to take credit for it, but there was a familiar that like it could turn your touch attack spells into ranged touch attack spells. And you could basically just say this thing has jumped onto that guy. And so now this spell, which would normally be a touch attack, I can now do from 15 feet or whatever.
Oh, yeah. No, 3.5, you could totally deliver touch attacks through your familiars.
That's what it was. So, I would much rather have animal companions work like that. I have a bird, it's flying around. Yes, even when we're underground in a dungeon, and when I snap my fingers or blow the whistle, it swoops in and I get an attack, and then there's a recharge dice that goes along with it. And so like that's how I would be tempted to use dinosaurs in an animal companion kind of way. It's like they're not present on the battlefield. They're just kind of hanging around doing their own thing. And then you call them into action. Fucking, I don't care what you got to do to make this work. You got a rune, it opens a portal, dinosaur runs out, runs the guy over, goes through a portal, end of story. That's how I'd much rather use animal companions.
Yeah, if I were hacking like a spell option to be dinosaurs, I'd probably just take I can't think of the name because I don't play high level druids that are spellcasters, but I'm sure there's some like avalanche or rock slide spell. What if you just like reflavored that to be like a stampede of triceratops comes running out of a portal and
but
like
Jesse,
runs
how do I use that in the dungeon?
The portal opens up in the dungeon wall. Some triceratops run through. And they look very confused.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think? What about, okay, so I don't know. I'll admit, I have no good ideas for how to make it mechanically like different with a dinosaur as a familiar.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think a dinosaur as a familiar is a cool idea just for color and flavor because mechanically familiars are the animal companion type thing I've seen used most effectively.
Mm-hmm.
In the games of D&D I've played, because like smart casters use that thing like a fucking drone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the question then is, how would you use dinosaur familiars specifically? Like, what makes them uniquely dinosaurs?
Yeah, I mean, is there a way to mechanically spice up the dinosauriness?
I mean, I did a quick jot down of like mechanics for this episode, and I tried to stick with like some basic fundamental concepts like a primal instinct or like a pack mentality or like a brutal savagery, as the themes of what I wanted to do. So that is where I guess I would go with a dinosaur, that like whatever it does supplements these kinds of aspects for the
Yeah,
group.
like so you had like an instinctive behavior table.
Basically, yeah, you
I
know.
feel like one of the Kevin Crawford books has that. Like I know we talked about the one about what's the monster doing when you encounter it, and we
Mhm.
worked on that for the different types of major dinosaur encounters in an earlier episode this season. But like I think like for middle of combat, just like what's it do? What is the game that we played that did that? Like there was a table I was supposed to roll on for what's it doing? What does it do this turn? Was it Soulbound?
Hmm.
There's one that had like an NPC AI, and I don't know if I ever mentioned I was doing it.
Oh
So
wow.
like a lot of like adventure board games have that. Um, like if you're playing those, they have a little table for the if they're like meant to be like a GM-less one, they have a little like, what does it do this turn? Oh, it charges and attacks, or oh, it does this. Think a little minute with what is the things that are interesting for this type of dinosaur to do, jot it down, put some numbers next to it, and you're ready to go.
I mean, I would be tempted to make a dinosaur animal companion if it was going to be present on the battlefield, to then strip down the main character significantly and play into the that part. So like I've never seen the Jurassic World movies, but I've seen enough like clips and memes about the Jurassic World movies. So picture fucking Star-Lord with his velociraptors around him and he's on the motorcycle, right? I would be tempted to adjust a 5e ranger so there isn't really a whole lot that the actual character himself or herself does, but she gets a pack of velociraptors. And there's all sorts of like maneuvers and pack benefits and things that if you can line them up, you can actually take advantage of the fact that you have multiple smaller, slightly weaker creatures. I mean, maybe velociraptors aren't the best because we all think they're fucking awesome and they are. But like I would try to do something like that where it's like your character can basically do attack, like they don't cast spells. They're just sitting there commanding the fucking pack of dinosaurs. And the
Yeah.
dinosaurs could like, we all joke around about like that's, you didn't see the ones that came in from the side. Well, it's like, well, you know, maybe they have like distraction features, or maybe they gain a bonus like first blood, right? Like if one of them hits and the next one hits, it like keeps ramping up their advantage, in that regard, like as long as they're working together. That's how I would be tempted to use dinosaurs because you can go beyond the simplistic nature of animals. You have permission to do that with dinosaurs. So, like, let animals and fantasy monsters be your run of the mill animal companions and mounts. Like, if you're going to use dinosaurs for this, try to do something like really unique and special.
Yeah, as I was thinking about this with like those unique mechanics and especially like the Velociraptor thing. So like I know the way that it does it currently is Velociraptors and wolves and some kinds of goblins and rogues all get a sneak attack if they have an enemy that's
Mm-hmm.
like adjacent to them. And it's so funny because I'm just sitting here thinking like, yeah, that's not enough to make it dinosaur and coolness. And then I thought, but what if I read about that on a Monsters Know What They're Doing, Keith the Mods blog?
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, this is amazing. So maybe I might be judging it just a little too harshly.
Yeah. It's hard to make a teamwork character when the rest of your team are played by your friends and everybody's been drinking. You know,
Yes.
like when you do standard D&D initiative combat, you can try to put a plan together, or you could be like, well, I guess I'm not casting fucking Flame Strike because 3 of my people are now right in front of me mixing it up, even though I said, oh, wait, everybody hold on, I'm going to cast Flame Strike. Like, that's just how it works. Or maybe you don't care and you burn your friends with fire. But, you know, that's where I would want to go with it, just to kind of drive that point home.
Yep. I'm trying to think. Okay. Digression. I've been reading the Exalted Essence edition. And Exalted, third edition Exalted, and this have a really interesting combat system that basically separates attacks into withering and decisive attacks. So I'm just going to talk about Exalted Essence edition. So basically, someone has a defense value, and when you start a fight, you can only make withering attacks where you're trying to roll a number of successes equal to the defense value or higher. That's at the basic level. If you succeed, you gain a point of power, and you gain a point of power for every additional success that you get above what you need. And so those withering attacks, like, you wouldn't in the fiction say I'm making a withering attack, but withering attacks are like clinches, almost parries, like a series of sword strokes to get someone like off their footing to open them up for the decisive attack. And so when you make a decisive attack, everybody's got a value called hardness. You have to basically gamble with as many points of power as you're willing to do to make that attack to try and actually put some damage on them.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Reading it, I was like, oh, I get this, but like, I'm trying to just talk about rules again. So one of the things I think is really interesting about that is it has this whole list of options that you can do to build power without actually attacking someone.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then you can keep that power for yourself or give it to another player in your party. Like, you can insult someone or you can goad them, and then you're making like a social roll in combat in order to like generate the power to create an opening to actually strike. Or, and this is the whole point of this, there's one called outmaneuver, where you build power by like jumping back into the shadows and slinking around. And I think if there would be some way to bring something like that into like a pack of stealthy hunting dinosaurs where they can like remove themselves from the battlefield and then come back in with like advantage on the attack roll against you, like, that'd be pretty interesting mechanically to get that feel of this group of at least monsters working together.
Yeah, I mean, and you could make several different varieties of dinosaur companions. You know, like if you're using these velociraptor like hunters, these things should basically be like glass cannons, in my opinion. Like this should be like an advanced class. This should not be for somebody who's just looking to fuck around and drink beer. This should be for somebody who's like, if you screw this up, like, you can lose a dinosaur like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I see it. Maybe you see it differently. But then there could also be a version that acts as like a tank, where it's like they don't do a lot of damage. They take a lot of damage.
Yeah.
You know, and then like you use the same system you're describing, like with goading and whatnot, to keep enemies focused on them. One of the things I really liked about 4th edition was their taunting mechanic. I'm blanking on the name of it, but you had these classes that had a taunting mechanic where if the monsters did not attack them, they either took damage or they suffered penalties when going after other opponents.
I feel like one fighter subclass has something like that still.
They
in
do
5e.
Probably the Battle Master or whatever.
Yeah.
But they don't have it at the scale that 4th edition was doing this with, because 4th edition had a different version of this for like the Warden and the Paladin and the Fighter and, you know, whatever.
What do they call them? Defenders, or do they just call them tanks?
I think they called them Defenders specifically.
Yeah. Every 4e character I played was basically a defender. Like, because I was like, that is the thing that is most interesting to me. I might have done a controller once, but I was just like, this is so cool how you can actually tank in this tabletop role-playing game.
Yeah, I mean, the real crime of fourth edition is that it was Dungeons and Dragons. If they had made this its own separate game they could have even also made it fantasy with its own universe, its own style, and its own play style. I think it would have actually landed way better. I just think that they were chasing the trend of World of Warcraft, and as we're seeing right now with Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast and D&D, when you chase trends, not great things happen, unfortunately. But I think fourth edition D&D would have been way better if it had just been its own game that wasn't D&D. I think it would have landed way better. I just wish I could remember what this mechanic was called.
Yeah, the 4E Gamma World is a good game, is a hill I will die on. I just really wish they hadn't tried to, with the second expansion, turn it into a thing to get people to blind booster card packs.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was the Star Wars. There was a 4E Star Wars one too, right?
Yeah, I never got to play it though, but that would
I feel like a Defender that's a Jedi would actually be kind of cool.
I mean, imagine a 4E style game where all the characters are Jedi.
Yep.
Because the problem that Star Wars games run into is except for you'll have to remind me of the system. It's the Fantasy Flight version. They do this right because they separate these games. You can mix them, but you shouldn't. And
Edge of the Empire, Flames of Rebellion, Force and Destiny.
Right. When it comes to a 4E game, if it was just called Power of the Jedi, and every one of the classes is a version of a Jedi. And it's you don't play Han Solo, you don't play a scoundrel, you don't, you're not trying to play Chewbacca. You're playing a fucking Jedi. You're a group of Jedi or sent on missions by the Jedi Order. You're going to fight fucking other Force users. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I think 4E would have really worked in that regard.
Was it Saga Edition is the one that's 4E, I think?
And maybe, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that works perfectly because within the bounds of a Jedi power set, you have a Guardian. That's what they were called.
Mm-hmm.
Guardian, Striker, Controller. You can do all those things within that one character class, and that's super cool, but not Dinosaurs.
I mean, I think with the Dinosaurs, I think it's called marking is what it was called in 4E for the Defender.
Yeah, that's right.
You marked a target, right? And I think if you had a dinosaur that could do that, or maybe the player character who controls the dinosaur marks the targets, and the challenge would be then for the dinosaur is basically a rampaging creature.
Mm-hmm.
And you have in your action economy the ability to mark and set it towards targets. But your space to mark things is very small. So you basically have to breadcrumb it into doing things in order to keep it on track. Because dinosaurs, small brains, savage creatures, forces of nature, right? That's how you would do it. I mean, Jesse, what we're basically doing right now is designing a dinosaur class.
Yeah, I was immediately thinking how would you have it do it? Would it be a per short rest ability? And then I was like, wait a minute. I've got this idea of you're marking the target. You've got some scent pouch that you throw at him. I'm like, oh my God, it's a spell. It's a spell with the material,
yes,
with a material component. And you've only got so many of them in your pouch because if you carry any more of them, the smell gets too strong and the dinosaur might think you're the marked target.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really love that idea. I'm tempted to try it next time I make a new character just to do a sorcerer and then just reflavor all of the spells he does as different dinosaurs that kind of follow around in the near distance. And he's oh, scent pouch, get him.
Yeah. I mean, the easiest way to do this kind of class is with something that can just run in and hit. And then you basically just have it simulate spells,
Yeah.
like you said. You just basically do that and you're good. You know, like you could have like a little miniature pterodon style dinosaur that you like throw into the air, you know, and then that's basically the equivalent of a cantrip. You point, it hits, flies out, you know, no harm, no foul.
Yeah. I love it.
Cool. Let's get designing this class with all the free time we have.
Sure thing. All right. Well, I think that kind of gets us to the end of just talking about some of the interesting ways we can make Dinosaurs mechanics work, and also why 4E was not a bad game, and also how we like Star Wars and Gamma World. And I like Exalted Essence Edition. Okay, but I do have a listener challenge for you guys out there. If you can, I'd like think of I don't know why I'm setting this up like homework. If you're interested, challenge out to you in listener land. Either send us an email with it or put it in the comments. Homebrew or tweak one mechanic to make a dinosaur feel better in your game. We'd love to hear what you do.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay. Well, keep on playing those fucking role-playing games or something.
Yep. Do what Jesse told you to do. Or don't. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm not your supervisor.
Yeah. Get back to work.